Hello and welcome. Today we are going to talk a few minutes about a building plan, building your dream home. What can you do to kind of put something on paper, or if you have something in your mind, you've looked at Pinterest, other sites for ideas, how you want your dream home to look, and also what's reasonable, of course, and what you can afford is one of the biggest factors in that. So today I'm going to show you a rough idea of what I did to put those ideas on paper and then have those transposed into the blueprint that has been approved and that is going to become our house throughout the build. So you want to get an idea of the home you're going to build. You have an idea in your head, you've seen some beautiful pictures. We'll go to places like Pinterest. And again, we'll search for our pole barn homes. And you can scroll through and get some ideas. Maybe you definitely want that upstairs loft. Maybe you want a ranch. Now, a couple things to consider. Obviously, the larger the home, the more costly it is, and you really have to consider your budget. So I'd say getting ideas on what you'd like this big garage, for example, or this beautiful patio feature. This is nice, but don't start with this before you contact a builder. What I would do is I would get some ideas in your head of what you would like to do, maybe you'd like to incorporate. Then talk with your builder, work with them on a budget, get an idea in your head of what you can reasonably afford within your mortgage. So at first, what I wanted to do, I wanted to do one of these big two-story pole barns with the loft in the top. I've seen a lot of pictures and I thought this would be an awesome idea, or maybe incorporate the garage underneath the house in the first layer of the house. If I see a picture like one, maybe something like this, for example, this huge home, except the downstairs you drive right into the bottom, and then perhaps you take an elevator or stairs up, and then the living space is upstairs. But after talking with the builder, we found out that it was going to be far more expensive for us to do that style building for the project, and that it would actually be a bit cheaper, sorry for the barking there, to go ahead and do a ranch style. So as much as I liked this idea, it wasn't reasonable within my budget to do it, and I didn't necessarily want to wait another year to start this project. So I started to rethink, what features do I want to include so that perhaps I can still have these big high vaulted ceilings and a open floor plan, and work with that. So what the builder actually helped me do is the builder gave me a rough formula to follow for cost per finished square foot. Now, I don't want to give you what my cost was and you rely on that. You're going to have to talk to your builder and figure out that whatever that number is for yours. But after figuring out, how big of a footprint we want to be able to include enough bedrooms, a large kitchen, large living space, we ended up going with a footprint that was about 60 feet by 36 feet just for the home, and then the garage would be about 40 feet by 24 feet. So I'm going to show you what I did to give a rough idea of what I wanted this home and this lookout to look like. Now, this isn't a professional way by any means to do this, but I actually used a blank PowerPoint presentation, and I will minimize this here so it fits within the screen for you to see. And essentially what I did was I took an insert shape and I started off with a rectangle. Okay. Now these dimensions are obviously not perfect. So what I went to do is, if you know how to use PowerPoint, you could always watch a video. You don't need to do this in PowerPoint, but instead of drawing, for me, this was the easier one to do. What you can do is you can actually scale up here the height and the width. So for my original drawing, what I had done is I had started to play around with this idea, figure out what is that scale, 36 by 60, do the math, create this rough idea, and then almost make a miniature floor plan on PowerPoint. All right, so continuing on, I realized that I had it saved in my email somewhere. I used these rough approximations of my scale on PowerPoint essentially to do a layout of how I want these to connect. Now this isn't final, I'll show you what final came out with, but to give an idea that I wanted the house to lay one way, the garage to form an angle. These would naturally form an area for the patio that connects everything back here, and then a big driveway up front. You can see these lines of the garage doors. So what does this look like, however? So again, I had my rectangle here before, and this was my first really rough iteration. Again, we're not the architects. Don't worry, you don't need to be. There's going to be plans that are made from an architect who you have to pay, and engineers that go through this. But to give them a really rough starting idea, this was my rough sketch. I basically stated these are the rooms I wanted. These are the rough proportions. I want a wide open kitchen / great room space that's going to be connected here. I want 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. Now, because we are doing this no basement, grade on slab, pole barn, ranch style, that means we need to house the utilities somewhere in the room, somewhere on the first floor. So we created an entire utility room. Now you also want this to be centralized because you have to figure if there's water stemming from here, electric, and all your utilities, it's much easier to bring them out from the center of the house to the other rooms, as opposed to if you had it on an end and then you had to drag it all the way across here, all the way up and across here. So we kind of made that centralized. And this was my really rough sketch to give and hand over to the architect, who would then transform this into the actual plans that we're going to show you here in just a moment. All right, so after taking those rough plans that I'd showed you and working with the architect and telling them what type of things we did, this is what they came back with. They came back with an actual blueprint that was based off of my original idea. So you can see that over here we still have that great open kitchen / great room space. There was a bedroom down here before, but we decided that we're going to sacrifice that area now to have this as one big great room space. And then if we need to in the future, I can always easily build in and there's enough space to add a bedroom into here. But for right now, we wanted to keep that as open space, as 3 bedrooms is going to be enough. So from my original plan, you could see that the master bedroom's here, a master closet with its own master bath suite, a couple bedrooms down here, that utility storage room, and they did everything they need to do to essentially get this to the town and get approved to get our building permits. This process was, I want to say, approximately $700 or $800. There were other fees that go into this because after it went to this person, it had to go to an engineering place. Again, these were requirements of the town. Your township may not be the same, but they're able to bring this to life. I also used the door dimensions and the real window dimensions of the windows and doors that we had started acquiring already. So they figured those in there, and they're able to bring our project and dream home here to life. Now, it's not the prettiest looking on paper. Like, this is the garage, just literally looks like an industrial barn. I promise it won't look like that at the end. But this is what the town wants, and this is what the town gets, and you're going to be paying for. So, again, follow the steps. Always check with the building inspector along the way. Check off the boxes on the list, because in the end, that is all that they are doing, is checking off boxes on their list to see if you meet the requirements. And we are on to the next step.